All right, where to start? Well, it is a little bit hard to start this because I got used to doing cold opens. I don't really like coming on here and just going, "Welcome to another episode of the Power Horse Podcast." Like, I don't really like that. It's what we kind of used to do. I know a lot of pods do that. I think it's dumb. And also, I kind of cut my hand open while trying to fuck with brakes and rotors today. So it's just overall been a kind of a messy, brake dust covered week. So I will address the rumors. Obviously, I am here solo due to creative differences and contract negotiation issues, and what will probably end in the cease and desist letters from his agents / lawyers. Jeb will not be joining us for this episode. We tried to get the people what they wanted. I know everybody really wanted to have Jeb on here, but unfortunately we couldn't come to an agreement. And while I wish him the best of luck, apparently he is starting his own podcast, which great. I don't know if they've settled on a name yet, but I think it's going to be called Weatherman. It's going to be about weather, I guess. Yeah, definitely go check that out. I don't know if that's going to be on YouTube or Spotify, but that's all my lawyers are telling me that we're allowed to talk about right now. Maybe down the line we might be able to renegotiate something after the fiscal year, the new fiscal year starts. But at this time, it looks like we're not going to have Jeb on for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, like I said, it just didn't work out. And we weren't. It was a trial period. It was a trial period, and we had 7 episodes, 6. I actually don't really remember. We had a few episodes to try and get something nailed down. And unfortunately, we passed that mark and we weren't able to sign anything. And unfortunately, now we're in the position we're in. It's not anything personal between me and Jeb. It's just it's legalese stuff. I wish it didn't have to be this way, but his people and my people here at the garage couldn't figure something out, and unfortunately, this is where it's at. So. I am looking into new options. I really don't want to do the over Discord co-hosting thing. I'd rather do it in person. But on short notice, we were not able to get somebody for this week's episode. Now, I will say some of the episodes, we may try to have Avon come on. We may try to have Merlin come back. But, unfortunately, these guys are not always available, and I'm looking for somebody a little bit more regular. So if we have to do it on our own, we have to do it on our own. As the content that you desire every single week, because I feel it's important. So on that note, the reason why we are doing this is because we missed last week. I was away on business. And a lot has happened in that time. I actually came across, I'd like to kick this off, I came across a great video on my Instagram feed, and someone else has summed up what I've been talking about, what we've been talking about on the show, really, really well, actually. The guy wears a racing helmet, So for right now, we will simply refer to him as the Stig because I don't remember his Instagram handle.
Cars are being taken away from us. I mean, the Camaro, gone. The Challenger, gone. The Charger is an EV, and the ICE version isn't even a V8 anymore. The Mustang, Ford doesn't take it seriously anymore. But more on that later. I've heard people tell me, oh, it's because these woke DEI CEOs hate us, and they don't want us driving sports cars. They want us driving these self-driving, anonymous EV blobs. And as good of a story as that is, it's not quite the truth. The truth is much more scary and sad than you would be led to believe. The reality is that those executives and the CEOs that work for them no longer believe that young people are worth making cars for anymore.
Whoa, that's a huge statement. And you know what? What he's going to get into, I couldn't agree with more. Just to clarify, this is the 6-speed. He does say later on he has a Camaro. It looks like it is I guess that's the Gen 5 Camaro, the early Bumblebee Transformers Camaro, that he's doing like rally type or off-road type stuff with. It looks like a really cool build. Really, the guy has it nailed down. It's something I experienced in my own car group where I was the youngest person in a car group of like 50 people. The next youngest person, at the time I was like 23, 24, maybe even younger than that. Maybe I was 22. Yeah, 22, 23, 24 before I left. The next youngest person in that car group was like 35, 36. And by no means were the two of us sporting the grandeur in Mustang packages that some of these other people were. So let's keep going.
The worst part, they're right, and they have the numbers to back it up. As of 2025, anyone under the age of 34 only represented less than 10% of new car registrations.
Less than 10% of new car registrations. Sorry, we have a little video.
While the 55...
We're a little video buffering issue here.
Almost half. Now, for comparison's sake here, in the year 2000, those numbers were 30% and 30%, respectively. So what we're watching is the middle class evaporate right before our eyes, and car companies reacting to that in real time. So when you see the Ford CEO announce new $170,000 Raptor R and the $300,000 Mustang GTD, while leaving the regular Mustang GT with the same engine and shitty manual transmission that they've been using since 2011, it is because that Mustang no longer makes any money anymore, because the demographic that it was aimed at no longer has the money to buy it.
So I will say, when they came out with we covered this back when Dale was the co-host. When they were bringing out the S650, I genuinely, and I mentioned this, that I thought that the reason that there was no change in the engine, they kept the Coyote, no innovation, same transmission, MT82. It just basically looked like a facelift. And a facelift in a car is something you do with the New Edge and the SN95. So the SN95 was out from 94 till about 99, so about 5 years before in 99. It was either 99 or 2000. There was the facelift for the New Edge. And then in 2005, so 10 years, they debuted the S197. The S650 and S550 are so similar in nature. It's a little electronics difference. The dashboard is different. The interior is slightly different. The shape of the car is slightly different. I can slam a lot of the same. The engines aren't different. The transmissions aren't different. I bet you that nearly 65 to 75% of those cars are exactly the same. The only difference is that now we're on like the 4th or 5th generation Coyote and the 3rd generation EcoBoost engine. They're still using the A10. They're still using the MT82. And there's no mention of any Shelby cooperation on this. There's no GT350. There's no GT500 yet been mentioned. But they're pumping that GTD. That GTD is like $100,000 plus car for a baseline one of those. For the real track version of it, you're looking at upwards of $250,000. You need to have money. Not Corvette money. You need to have Ford GT, not GT Mustang, GT money to have one of these cars. If we look back to the Lee Iacocca days, when they were first developing the Mustang, that's not what this thing was built for. This was built for young kids. This was built for... I go back to Ford versus Ferrari. Put in the clip.
In 1945, our soldiers came home. What was the first thing that they did? They had sex. 17 years later, those babies, they've grown. They've got jobs. They've got licenses. But they do not want to drive the same dull 50s cars that their parents drove. You see, kids today, they want glamour. They want a sex appeal. They want to go fast. Gentlemen, it's time for the Ford Motor Company to go racing.
We're already in racing, Iacocca.
NASCAR, it's regional, sir. If you go to the movies, you open up a magazine, you don't see good old boys in Winston-Salem. You see Sophia Loren, Monica Vitti. James Bond does not drive a Ford, sir.
That's because he's a degenerate. See?
That's literally like a Lee Iacocca quote from that boardroom pitch where he's talking about the GIs coming home, the GIs having babies. Those babies are all grown up. They want cool cars. Well, I'm glad that things haven't changed, because for the past 40 years, the past 60 years, I guess, Ford has been making cars for the baby boomers. And it's sad to see that Ford's still making cars for the fucking baby boomers. They do not give a shit about the millennial generation. They do not give a shit about the Gen X generation. They do not give a shit about the Gen Z generation. I know I just did those out of order. I know that they were out of order. They do not care. Why? Because the millennials, the zillennials, the Gen Zs, and the Gen Alphas, when they start driving, are so unbelievably fucked when it comes to cars. You will not have... I am so glad I didn't listen to people now when they told me... these are family members. When I was younger, my only goal in life, aside from finding a nice woman, my only goal in life was to get a Mustang. Personal goal was to get a Mustang. And when I got one, my next goal in life was to get another. My goal after that was to have a garage to put them in. I am so glad I didn't listen to anybody when they told me, well, just wait. If I had waited, there's no 82s out there anymore. To buy an EcoBoost, which is my daily driver, my casual daily driver, which I beat the piss and shit out of when I used to be, and we'll get into that a little bit. My daily driver when I bought it was $26,500. Dealership fees, registration, everything out the motherfucking door. $26,500. I bought that car at MSRP. And it was a brand new 2019 in 2018. Okay. And the trade-in value of my car was trash. And somehow they made it work. They lost money on that. Now, for an EcoBoost, it's like $35,000. That was not 10 years ago. That was 2018. Less than 10 years ago? And barely a full model away. That was the S550 like Mark II. So the facelift. And now we've essentially gone... I have a Gen 2 EcoBoost engine. I'm like, well, actually, you know what? I might have been the tail end of the Gen 1s. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look at that. I either have a Gen 2 or I have the Gen 1. Like the tail end of the Gen 1s. Regardless, I've never had an engine issue. Knock on wood. You are telling me that the price of a baseline EcoBoost Mustang jumped by nearly 50%? That's insanity. And some of these dealership markups, again, $26,500, and we were dealing with a lot of dealership markups at the time when I bought that car. So getting a car at MSRP was insanely good. We're looking at insane dealership markups right now. Insane dealership markups. Dealership markups like, well, ours comes with a custom pinstripe, so that obviously makes it $5,000 over MSRP. What the fuck are you talking about? It all goes back to this. Who are they making these cars for? Like the gentleman said in the video, 50%. 50% of all these cars are going to people in the boomer class, in the boomer generation.
The reason why I've been working on this off-road Camaro project for the past 30 years on my daily, my only car, because the Camaro was gone. GM isn't going to make one for us, not in a way we would like anyway, and that means that we have to make it ourselves. I've seen people say to me, just vote with your wallets. But what happens when there isn't any more money in that wallet to vote with? It really feels like cars are being taken away from us. I mean,
I just want to go back over that demographic again so that people understand. So looking at this is by age, the 35 to 54, 55 plus age range. New retail registration by age group. 43.2% registered in the 35 to 54 range. That was between 2021 and 2025. The 55 plus was 44.8. Oh, this is on a scale. So it ranged about 40 to 43%, 45 to 50% between that time period. And then your age range, your age group of 18 to 34. 18 to 34. That's a fucking massive demographic. That's a big demographic. This demographic should be skewed wildly. 18 to 25 is a big demographic. 18 to 34. this data should be skewed, but it's not. 12 to 9.9% of new retail registered car owners. It's like he said, the middle class is fucked. It's the extremely rich, and there is definitely, I've said this before on the show, there is a disconnect. I was part of a car group. Like I said, I was 22, 23, 24 when I was part of this group. The majority, I would say the majority, 75%. If you saw young people, it was because they were there with their parents. Over 75%, I'd say even 80% to 85% of the people were age 45 and older. It's all people with money. That's not how this was in the 60s and 70s. It was kids who were able to go out and buy cars. That were buying cars that were marketed to them. I remember listening to stories of people who grew up in the fucking 80s who would talk about their piece of shit 60s or 70s Mustangs. I can't even get... So that's equivalent to me buying a fucking Mustang from the early 2000s or the late 90s. And I couldn't even do that when I was 18. I couldn't do that when I was 22. I had to take out a loan. That's crazy. And the boomers will say that the youth don't work hard enough, or that the youth don't appreciate the culture. It's because the culture is being gutted. The culture is being gutted. And the culture is being gutted by the let them eat cake type people like Jim Farley, like people like Jimmy Fallon. We're going to play it.
Jim Farley. Jimmy Fallon. It's so good to see you, buddy. The best. I'm so happy to be here. Well, we're so excited you're here in Detroit.
Detroit? Jimmy, why aren't you wearing a bulletproof fucking vest? You're going to get gunned down in that fucking shithole. Again, this is just statistics. Detroit is a crime-ridden city. Absolutely on the state of collapse. Used to be the once great, like Motor City. Man, it is crime central.
Go around, I want to see everything. You're going to see a great city, but you have to do it in style. This is the F-150. We're going to give you best-selling.
Jim, why do you sound drunk as shit?
We're here at Ford's Field, home of the Detroit Lions, and Haynes and I are going to see if we're capable of kicking a field goal. And we got an actual Detroit Lion here to show us that.
Jimmy, I don't believe that you have an athletic bone in your body, so I'll answer this question right now. I don't think that you can kick a fucking field goal. I don't think you can kick the ball more than, I'll be generous, 6 yards. And that was about all that I could take of that, just because, Jimmy Fallon is another type of let them eat cake type people. He hasn't been funny in a long time. But this isn't a critique of Jimmy Fallon. This is a critique of Jim Farley. What in the actual fuck are you doing? Who do you think, what, you think the fucking the millennials and the Gen Zs are trying to fucking pay their rent? Who thinks that Jimmy Fallon is funny? Your mom and dad do. If you're a Gen Z, your mom and dad, your mom thinks he's funny and whimsical, and your dad thinks he's funny. And if you're a Gen Z, your grandparents do. They think he's funny. Because I don't know if you know this, if you're a millennial like I am, your parents are fucking boomers. And if you're a Gen Z, your grandparents are probably fucking boomers. And they will sit there and they will say, they're sitting there watching NCIS. They laugh at Jeff Dunham's jokes because they think he's still relevant, even though he hasn't been since he grifted off of making 9/11 jokes back in the mid-2000s with his stupid little Ahmed the Dead Terrorist character and Old Man Walter. Your parents are like your parents and grandparents, the boomer generation, are like Nero fiddling while Rome burned. And that's the state of the car culture, the car communities right now. Because it is falling apart. I don't have good news for you. When donut media is been co-opted and taken over by shady corporations, I don't have good news for you when Motor Trend, The Drive, and Car and Driver sell out to Big EV, and you have Motor Trend shut down one of the largest grossing, like biggest viewership of car shows ever. Roadkill was a massive success, and at their height, they shut them down. Why? Why? Because the culture is just it's being impacted, and they will sit there and they will scream and they will say that it's the youth's fault, but the youth are just trying to pay their rent right now. The youth had to deal with 2 years of fucking COVID. I'm not being a whiny millennial when I say this. Like, a lot of people my age, I've been not very lucky. I have busted my ass. But I have been lucky in the opportunities that I've had. I've had the opportunity to make some money. I don't know anyone else my age, except for a handful of people, who own their own homes. That when I say own their own homes, I mean have a mortgage. And the people that I do know that have a mortgage, that have a home, they were in the military. I don't know anyone who works a regular job my age. Paying off your car is a big deal to people my age. I was fortunate. I was in a position, I busted my ass, and I was able to pay off a bank note for my car. I own both my cars outright. And I was able to do that when I was like 24, 25. Man, I don't really remember much of being 25, but I was able to do that. Blood, sweat, and tears. Working my ass off. Not everybody else is in that same position. It's not as easy as it was back in the 1960s, 1970s, where the economy is in a different position than it is today. And in part, that is due to the fact that the car companies don't give a shit about you. Millennials, Zillennials, Gen Zs. Dare I even say, what's going to happen to Gen Alpha? They're just going to have these self-driving cars. I really feel for the guy, the 6-speed, this guy who's talking about it with the helmet on like the Stig. I really feel for you, man. Great on you that you were able to get. The car looks fantastic. Good on you. But you know what? As a fellow car guy, the dream is to have a project car and a daily driver. And sometimes the daily driver and the project car, they're both badass. And I am happy to say that I was lucky enough and had the foresight enough to pull the trigger on both while I was young, before life started getting crazy and before the bills started mounting. That I was able to snag both and lock both down and have them fully paid off. My heart goes out to you because I know that man would like, there's nothing like leaving the project car in the garage to sit to work on for a month at a time. But unfortunately, this poor guy's got to, and I sincerely mean this, when this is your passion, unfortunately, this poor guy has 48 hours from when he gets off work on a Friday to do whatever he's going to do to that car, because Monday morning, that thing's got to crank over and drive him to work, or he is fucked. And that's unfortunate. Not to linger on that, but I have a little more Ford news. So the location that they had for like 60 years, 40, 60 years, Ford headquarters, the glass house is now being teared down. They're moving headquarters. Coincidentally enough, the new building looks like the old one, but with more glass and iron. And it's not as square. Cool. I hope that they leave behind a lot of the bullshit for the past, I don't know, 20 years at this point. And I hope they take a lot of good stuff. Off that point, this was actually new. I saw this morning. Doug Ford? I can't verify this. It was a brief video. I will have to go check and do a follow-up. Henry Ford III. Is this your fucking kid? Doug Ford? On fat fuck on TV talking about how he endorses some fucking ice cream bar? How about you go fucking see Jim Farley and get his fucking act together? Unbelievable. Henry Ford II, Edsel Ford's son, Henry Ford's grandson saved that company. You are an absolute fucking disgrace. The Ford family, by God, take control of the company that your grandfather, Henry Ford, built and that Hank the Deuce fucking saved on the deathbed of his father. The deathbed of his father, Henry Ford drove that company into the ground. Let me clarify. On the deathbed of Hank the Deuce, Edsel Ford's death, Henry Ford Sr. drove that company into the ground. When Henry Ford Sr. died, the board came in. Hank the Deuce was like 22 years old. I just graduated college at 22. I don't even think Hank the Deuce had graduated college at this point. Henry Ford II gets pulled into a boardroom. He is the sole survivor. He is now in charge of Ford Motors, and everybody's drawn up a plan. The board members have drawn up a plan, and the vultures, the Indians are circling the wagons, the vultures are circling in the sky, and they are ready to pick at the corpse of Hank the Deuce's father, beloved father's memory. And this young man, if I recall correct, this young man fired the gentleman who proposed this, that they were going to cut up Ford. Fired him on the spot. Big tone setting. Just so everybody knows, I'm in charge. They thought they were going to push around this kid who barely had graduated college. They thought he was going to take the money and run. For God's sake, they'd come up with some kind of like trust fund for him. Would probably have been enough money for him to comfortably live his life. And Hank the Deuce, Hank II, comes up, fires that asshole on spot, and goes, I will not be selling the memory of my father. I will not be selling off any part of Ford. We will turn this company around. And he did. He did. He did, and the company prospered through arduous times. Prospered. Destroyed Ferrari. Crushed GM and Dodge in the horsepower wars. So much so that Dodge was so fucked, as they are right now, we'll get to that in a moment. Dodge was so fucked, Lee Iacocca and Carroll Shelby had to go over there in like the fucking 80s and save it. The last thing that Hank the Deuce did before he rode off into sunset and retirement was he made his successor, he made the board promise that they were going to go back to racing. Not this piddly shit that they were doing, but go back to racing like they did back in the 60s when they crushed Ferrari. He made them promise to go back with the promise not that they would go back to compete, but they would go back to fucking win. Jim Farley, I see through this. Ford Performance to Ford Racing, you don't care. Get out there and boast every single day. Every fucking win you do, like it's the 1960s, like you are racing on Sunday and selling on Monday. You do that, you put a new transmission in the Mustang, put a new engine in the Mustang, and you do it at an affordable price that, God, I don't expect a 20-year-old off the street to be able to buy a brand new GT. But for God's sake, I expect somebody who's got a family, a house, who's got a car to trade in, to be able to walk into a Ford dealership and buy a fucking GT and have that American dream. Like my father said, is to own your own home and determine your own destiny. Well, part of that destiny for the American has always been having a ride in your driveway or your garage. You talk to big talk, Jim Farley. I want you to back it up. Race on Sunday, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Sell to us, because the boomers are going to be in nursing homes soon, and they will not have the money to keep supporting failed projects like Dodge is doing right now. So let's get into that. We still have time. Dodge is fucked. They are nearly Stellantis. So this comes from Stellantis, but this is just Dodge. Okay. Now to keep in mind, there was Chrysler, there was Dodge, there was Chrysler, Dodge Chrysler, corporation merged. Okay. And then you had Chrysler Fiat for a bit. It's owned by the Italians. And now there's Stellantis. I didn't even know about this. I came back from Africa and I found this out. Who the fuck is Stellantis? To my understanding, it's some shady, like BlackRock type corporation. The fuck do they know about cars? There was rumor that they were going to start doing ads on the infotainment systems in the Jeeps. Unbelievable. To like start your car, you were going to have to do watch an ad to start your fucking car in your Jeep. Dodge is fucked. Anybody who sits there and takes Dodge seriously, you are buying into. I mean, I'm a Ford guy through and through, a diehard Ford guy through and through. But I'm going to call them out when I see it. And it pains me to see these Dodge guys support it. Oh, yeah, they're putting a V8 in the Dodge Ram. Sure. What are they doing with the fucking Charger Challenge? They can't even settle on a fucking name for this thing. This absolute abortion of a fucking car. It has no business, zero fucking business being on the road. And then you throw a six-pack in it, you're at fucking year zero with this thing. What are you thinking? You don't year zero an engine, a brand new engine, into a car that's a brand new fucking car. You year zero a fucking engine into an already proven platform. Like when, in the last 2 years of the S197, they put a Coyote in there. It was a brand new engine, the Gen 1 Coyote, into the S197. The S197 was a proven car. You put a Coyote in it. You work out the kinks. 2015 hits. You still have a little more kicks to work out, but now you're on a new platform, the S550. By the time you hit the Gen 2 Coyote, and the time you hit the facelift for the S550, you have a great car. And Dodge said, fuck it. Well, congratulations, Dodge. No one wants your stupid fucking EV. No one wants your piece of shit six-pack. No one wants your cars. Unbelievable. Off that point, my feed has been absolutely flooded with abysmal videos from mechanics and techs frustrated out of their minds. The electrical wiring. I'm actually really, really lucky with my 19. My EcoBoost has a very tiny screen. My EcoBoost has analog dials, meaning they're not digital. Okay? My dash is very analog. It's not digital at all. It's not a fucking iPad. All right? It's not an LED screen. There's only 2 LED screens in there. There's the tiny one up in the middle, and there's the tiny one for the radio. I am very lucky in that. They tried to sell me the whole shebang. I don't want it. Because looking at these videos of these techs, these auto techs, removing the engine covers off of... You remove the engine cover and it should be like, oh, well, okay, so I can start taking the top end. Like, you should almost immediately be able to access the spark plugs. Take off the top end of your fucking engine and get down into the pistons, get into the valves and start working on that. You take it off and you got to go through like 3 feet of wires. I don't mean 3 feet length. I mean 3 feet depth of wires on top of wires on top of wires. You have one single electrical issue. My God, electrical engineers did not invent this. They did not build this because you have one electrical issue and it's like a Christmas tree light. The whole strand goes out, the whole car is fucked. I'm very lucky. The most electronic stuff I have to deal with is a little bit of house wiring in the GT and some wiring harnesses that I can deal with in the EcoBoost that are not too bad. And even that, I thought when I first looked at it, I was like, this is a little excessive. I am so grateful now because I see some of these newer cars, 2020 something. I don't even want to look under my wife's car, the engine cover on my wife's car. Because I to be honest, I don't even think I've opened the hood on that. She has the whole deal going on right now with the free oil and stuff. Oil changes are included, and I don't even want to go look at it. You didn't need all these sensors and shit. All this stuff on... And I don't even know if I can say this. All this stuff on these like Rolex cars and the IMSA cars, I'd be like, yeah, maybe. These guys are going 200 plus miles an hour. But in the 1960s, 66, 67, 68, 69, the GT40 did over 200 miles an hour on the Mosan Street and beat Ferrari. Did they have hundreds and hundreds of feet of electrical wiring inside the GT40? Or was it just man and machine? I don't know. I will tell you, one of the most horrifying moments for me in the auto world and kind of almost turned me off to cars. I used to work on the assembly line for a major company back in the early days when I was job hopping. I used to work on the assembly line for a major car manufacturer, I won't say. And we built SUVs, and I was on the electric harness line. How many stations? I don't know. There's probably 20, 30 people just to install electrical harnesses. Endless electrical harnesses. And those harnesses, they don't just go from your engine to your dash. They run from your engine all the way back to your taillights. And if one breaks, you have to rip out all the interior of your fucking car to get it to work. If you blow a fuse, if there's a kink in the line, if there's a broken wire, a frayed wire. You're fucked. You're screwed. Oh. Before we wrap things up, I'll give a little update on the Instagram. At this point, I've probably posted a picture of my blood and battle with the car. I busted some knuckles trying to get some nuts loose. Trying to get my nuts loose. I got new rotors on the front of Scarlet. In addition to that, the current state of affairs for the engine bay, I am very disappointed in Roush. An absolute dumpster fire piece of fucking shit. Everything else on the cold air intake is great. I posted a video of it, of me complaining. The window on the cold air intake box does not seat properly. And this thing wound up breaking off in my hand because, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, oh, this is going to rattle going down the road until it fucking breaks. And then it's going to go from being a cold air intake to every air intake. I might as well just put the box back on. So I don't want to waste time returning this to American Muscle, which is where American Muscle and LMR and CJ Pony is where I get a lot of stuff. This was not an open box item, so I don't know what the deal was. But now so I don't have to delay anything, I'm going to probably wind up JB welding it. I got a very specific type of JB weld that I'm confident in. I'm going to try and fix it, and we'll see if it works. And if not, I guess I'm just going to send it back to American Muscle and tell them that this is a piece of shit and I'm really disappointed in it. But that's the only thing that I have left. Everything else is reconnected. Everything else is ready to go. I was hoping to get this thing tuned by the end of September for a trip in November up to Tail of the Dragon. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're probably going to wind up getting tuned in October. If I can get it tuned by the end of October, that'd be great. So I don't have to drive the wife's car up there. That would be horrible. But that's what I'm currently looking at. We'll have brakes and rotors all the way around. I got to be honest, this is a small pet peeve, and I'm looking back at it. If anybody knows me well, you'll know my saying, make it black and supercharge it. Which is funny because I technically don't have a supercharger on anything, but I really hate the way the chromified stainless steel look, the metallic look of my rotors looks. So I'm excited to get out there and get some brake dust on it and to really see how these things handle. Honestly, the new rotors look fucking absolutely stellar. As far as handling, not as physically. Like I don't like the way they look, but they look like they handle like a motherfucker. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very fortunate that we found this location. I'm very fortunate that my wife was cool with it, and thanks to her as always for letting me chase this little hobby. She's very supportive, and I think we're gonna wrap it up today. I came across a video of 1320. If you don't know 1320 video, they were a long time ago a lot of street racing stuff, and then they got more legit. If you scroll back far enough in their stuff, you will find videos of the cops showing up and ticketing and sometimes straight up arresting people for street racing, because in certain areas street racing is illegal. But I mean, back in the day, they were doing stuff like hardcore street racing and dudes showing up with like thousands of dollars in cash and no prep, put your money where your mouth is type shit. Well, here's a video from 1320.
About real quick how apparently 1320 video is a gang affiliated
Yeah.
thing now.
Really?
The cops are apparently pulling over every modified car going
It was really
into
disappointing.
the track.
Really
Let me say that again. They're pulling over every modified car going into the track. So why are tracks there? So we take it to the track and not on the streets, right? These people were literally taking it to the track at the gate before they made it into the track. Were getting pulled over and ticketed.
There's probably 10 Grand Prairie police officers.
Yeah, I don't care who you are, Grand Prairie Police, I hope you see this. That was fucked. Don't have, like, are you serious? They're trying to go to the track. They're trying to do what you want. Apparently, so many of these great people that want to take their race cars to the track had our sticker on their car that apparently the cops thought, that's a gang. Obviously, that many people have the sticker on it, that's a gang, they're gang affiliated. So we now have more street cred than we did before, gentlemen.
Yeah.
In Grand Prairie,
Come
we
with a
are...
hand signal.
In Grand Prairie, we are now we are an organized gang.
If we hit 1 million followers or subscribers, I will get a 320 video worth 1320 gang affiliated tattoo. I will get one. I will get a tramp stamp of it. If we hit 1 million subscribers or followers on Spotify or wherever the podcast is, I will get a tramp stamp, a 1320 tramp stamp. We'll put out a couple different things, like artist renderings. I'll get one. Do I think that 1320 believes that the police believe they're gang affiliated? No. Do I think that the police think 1320 is gang affiliated? No, maybe. Maybe. I've just like it was in the infantry, and I was told, and I will confirm, you meet some of the smartest people and some of the dumbest people. I would say the same probably about law enforcement too, because I've had some great interactions and I've had some bad interactions. When I lived in Daytona Beach, I had great interactions. I recently had a not great interaction with a retired law enforcement officer. I don't know if I would go as far to say that somebody thinks a sticker on a car is gang affiliated. That's kind of fucking stupid, but maybe. However, this is great clout for 1320. My point off of that is, this is not the first time I have seen this. And I have kind of a split viewpoint on it. When I lived in South Carolina, one of the events that I never went to was Mustang Week. The group that I used to roll with was older, and we never went to Mustang Week. One of the reasons was because of the heightened police presence, because of accidents, and because younger people in general, were stupid with their overpowered cars. When I was in Georgia one time doing a fun run, not a cruise, a fun run. Just so if people don't know, so a cruise is usually older people. It's kind of like a parade. You go at a moderate speed. You're probably staying between fucking 4th and 5th gear. You're not going fast. A fun run is not that. Sometimes we would go on fun runs and they would turn into cruises, and then people would split off and they would be fun runs again. Don't want to implicate myself in criminal behavior, but fun runs are meant to be fast. You build your car to do such things. You're out in the middle of nowhere the majority of the time, so nobody should get hurt. Sometimes accidents do happen, but for the most part, if you have a good group, you know what your limit is, you know what your car's limit is, and unless you have a catastrophic failure, you should be all right. You'll have a good time. Brakes will glow, turbos will glow, brakes will squeal. You guys get beers at the halfway point and burgers, and everybody goes home before the sun goes down, and it's a good time. When I was doing a fun run in Georgia, there was a whole line of Mustangs we came across. And trailing behind them were 2 local sheriff deputy cars. Okay, 2 Chargers. They were following them the whole way. It was, I believe it was one of the, I think it was like Georgia Foothills Mustang Club or something like that, or Georgia Mustang Club, something like that. Now, I mentioned that, and I was like, that's weird. You know, they got an escort, and they're like, yeah, it's terrible. You know, they're following them. You know, they sometimes these guys get into the Facebook groups, and they follow them, and they know, or they get tipped off. You know, however, whatever way the local police find out, and then they just follow them, and they wait to give them tickets and stuff. And it's like, well, there's like 50 Mustangs in that line. They're probably not going to do anything. However, when you have problems like over at Mustang Week, where people give us a bad name, and to be honest, Ponies in the Smoky started as a small thing. How much longer it continues on, I don't know. How much longer the people of Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg put up with us, I don't know. I haven't been in a couple years now. Everything was fine last time I was there, but the increased police presence up at Tail of the Dragon, that'll tell you something. They got cops up there. They have state troopers up there, and they're watching. Because people are stupid. Don't do burnouts in the Kohl's parking lot. Don't draw attention to yourself. You don't look cool. Nobody's impressed. Just go have fun and don't do stupid stuff. That's all you need to know. So when I see 1320 coming out and saying stuff like this, yeah, that sucks. A good lawyer will have it thrown out, go to court. What was I doing wrong, officer? You know, are you in a state where you're not allowed to have modified cars? Sorry, but if you're in fucking Virginia, New York, or California, where you're, or, you know, God, like Maryland's another state that has issues. Connecticut's got another state with it. Connecticut, Massachusetts. Cannot go to those states. Don't go to those states and expect, oh yeah, I'm going to go there with my uncatted X-pipe and fucking headers. Don't be stupid. And if you're going to complain about it, guess what? Those states, California especially, they hate you, car people. They just had a whole Leno's Law thing that they tried to pass that was going to absolutely fuck car enthusiasts, that they tried to make look like it was a good thing for us. If you're in a state like Texas where they are horribly opposed to street racing, guess what? Maybe don't fucking street race in the same area where the county sheriff sets up fucking patrols. Don't be stupid. I know this sounds like a lot and you're like, oh, I want to have fun. Used to have fun with my friends all the fucking time.
To the youngsters, I know you're having fun. I used to have fun myself. But there's something you need to know. Stuff like that, that's a load of crap. That's a load of crap.
Maybe make your friends circle a little bit smaller. Go with people you trust. Be a little more careful. Be a little more quieter. Don't post shit on fucking social media for fucking clout, because nobody cares. Because if you're a real car guy, the only thing you care about is how that engine sounds to you and how you feel when you push on the gas. It's been great to have you guys visit the garage. Thank you so much. I don't know what the future of the pod is going to look like now. We'll try to keep bringing you some content, and we'll keep you updated on both the cars. I hope this year, if I'm able, I can see you guys out at Ponies in the Smokies. It's great to be up there. Last time I was there, like 2022. But yeah, as always, thank you for stopping by the garage. Thanks for having a beer with us, and we will see you next time.